we will be seeing Robert more often, actually, in a couple of ways. And one is a new podcast that we are launching, which is Game Time Tech. You wanna introduce this
Fantastic.
one?
Sure. It's really an interesting new category that we are launching, and it's sports technology, and it's really the broader sense of what sports technology means to really the sporting brand. So it's the influence of technology to where sports brands, teams, gaming, racing industry are taking advantage of the technology from these companies to better suit their actual games or how the outcomes are being. But it's transforming the industry with different types of analytics, different types of technology. But yeah, what's your opinion on this? Because I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I think, it's funny. Well, let's talk about how this all started. You went to Manchester to see how Snapdragon is doing their sponsorship with Man U.
Yep.
Yeah, and I work with Ring Central, and they have a big sponsorship with the Warriors. They had Steve Kerr speak at one of their analyst events. And they're not just sponsorships anymore. They're true partnerships. And it's really like this now extends beyond sports partnerships to generate this business value beyond like the traditional boundaries. And I think it used to be companies would slap a logo on something, and sometimes the logo was clever, right? Like we've talked about the Gap used to sponsor in baseball fields. They put a Gap logo in that part of the baseball field, which is the Gap. So that made sense. It was clever, whatever. But actually using the technology in the stadium, on the field, like for telco companies to provide better access inside the stadiums, that provides a better fan experience. For better communication on and off the field, call centers for people to be able to call in, payment processing for ticketers. So there's so many things, and it's really just changed brands' approach to sponsorships. It also really changes. It's not just sort of like the external brand. It's kind of the way that companies internally can justify these sponsorships, right? Because there's a reason for them, and I've talked to a lot of vendors about why do you do these sponsorships? And a lot of times, the sales teams or the marketing teams, they want to be able to have the suite at the stadium and bring people in, and people like to do that. But with budgets being tighter and everything, people need to find a way to actually get more value out of that. And so if you choose the right sponsorship that actually could lead to some business value beyond getting that sale because, Jane likes to watch basketball or Henry likes to go to a football game,
Sure.
There's just such an evolution beyond that. And it goes everything from, I've written about F1 before, and we see the amount of technology that goes into these cars, that it translates beyond what goes into the car, right? Like Cadence Design Systems, they put all this technology into cars, but that technology goes beyond into a number of other things where the car may help communicate a more complicated technology, like a digital twin, where the car is able to provide somebody a more simple way to understand a digital twin or an aerodynamic, whatever, So I think it's a really interesting space. I think we're seeing a lot more in it, and I think we can provide a lot of value, and obviously both of us. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, sorry to jump in, but what's interesting is, 20 years ago, sports was a manual management, right? And that's really part of this whole thing is it's an automated component. So when you're utilizing all the different things that you talked about, these technologies that these IT companies are using to sponsor these different sports, it's kind of a trifecta where the brand, is so it could be IBM, it could be Qualcomm. They're sponsoring like a Manchester United. The Manchester United team gets the revenues or the monies from Qualcomm for the sponsorship on their jersey, but in full, the fans get more of an interactive offering because of the wireless smart stadium that stadium is going to be from Qualcomm, and then the data that Qualcomm's able to deliver the team through some advanced analytics help the team manage the players and the performances and things of that nature. So it's a different game today. So it's really interesting from that perspective that there's always these different variances of technology that are used from the sports, from these different technology companies to make it a better impact. So we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking to different companies and how this all works and why they are sponsoring these different sports and how the ROI at the end is advancing to pay a dividend for everybody involved.
Yep. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be great, and we'll start. Maybe we'll start it next week, or maybe
So
later.
Yeah. So I mean, what we'd like to do is potentially be at different stadiums, different events, and talking to all these different companies and what the technology they're using, how that influence is on these different sports, and what those sports are getting out of it, and how it's all working to improve the game.